All right. Good Monday afternoon, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a check of your forecast. Hope everyone's enjoying the day today. It is nice and comfortable out there, and it's going to get warmer as we move into the middle part of the work week. Now, we are still going to have a roller coaster ride for the temperatures. It just will probably be the second half of the week where we start seeing some of those more drastic changes. So we'll have to break those down here in your forecast. We're going to take kind of an extended look at the longer range forecast as well, talk about some of our teleconnections and some of those longer term patterns, those semi-seasonal patterns, and how that may play out for the rest of December for us as well. Because again, it is kind of lackluster for the details on active things to talk about for us, other than a couple of fronts for this week. So we'll talk about some of the teleconnections, how they relate to our weather pattern here in the high plains, and kind of what to expect through the rest of December. But we're taking a live look outside first in Bushland. It is December 8th, year of our Lord 2025, a little bit past 4 o'clock this afternoon. Otherwise, it's a comfortable day here in the Panhandles. Those temperatures in the high 50s and low 60s. Probably going to be in a similar situation tomorrow, and then even warmer on, rather, I guess we should say will be even warmer on Tuesday, and then maybe some similar conditions like this again on Wednesday. Winds pretty calm, they're out of the south around 0 to 15 miles an hour. Lows for tonight, pretty normal. We'll fall down into the higher 20s by the time the sun comes up Tuesday morning. Now, the big kicker will be that rapid rebound in the afternoon. Those highs, as we get into the peak of daytime heating, likely going to surge back up into the 60s, well into the 60s for most. Maybe even a couple of us touching 70 for a high briefly tomorrow afternoon. So it will be a warmer day on Tuesday. The wind won't be too bad, so the dry eye index still going to be around a level 2 out of 4. But you just want to make sure you stay hydrated. Again, it is going to be kind of dry out there. Just the winds won't be crazy strong. So here's those highest forecasts for tomorrow. 67 for us here in Amarillo, 70 in Boise City, climbing to about 72 there in Paducah. And then for the next 2 days, that next thing to talk about will be the cold front coming through Tuesday night. So this is tomorrow morning. You can see a lot of us around are just below freezing. Temperatures in the afternoon Tuesday, not bad. And then we'll end up seeing that front blow through sometime early Wednesday morning. So probably just after midnight for us. We'll start off in the mid 30s. It'll be a little bit slower warming process, but with the sunshine, I still think we'll get up into the 50s for the high temperatures, which is still considered seasonal for mid-December. And then as we get into Thursday, we'll start off probably around 35, 40 degrees, and you can see that westerly wind early in the morning will be behind the surface trough, which means that it's going to be sunny and it's going to be dry. That downslope wind's going to help us heat up. There's a possibility, a very distinct possibility, we get into the 70s Thursday afternoon. That's going to be a relatively warm day for December standards. So let's take a look at our next weather pattern kind of change in the forecast. Unfortunately, we're not going to see any big shifts in the overall synoptic pattern. That southwest ridge just kind of stuck down there in the desert southwest through the next couple of days, probably the next week or two. There are some good signs, though. We talked about the stratospheric warming event last week or the week beforehand, how that was going to unleash probably some colder Arctic air at some point. And it looks like that's probably going to unfold, maybe not necessarily for us, but for a portion of the country. That cold weather looks like it's going to be a big theme moving through the rest of the month, especially up here in New England, as these troughs start to become more pronounced as they come diving through New England and areas like that. So I do want to show you again a couple of things. This is the West Pacific Oscillation. This has a lot to do with where that cold air gets bottled up and whether it gets, sent down through the plains or not. You can see this is the European ensemble. It's got this thing trending very negative through much of December. And I mean, we don't start seeing any of the ensembles suggest we get back up into positive or neutral territory, maybe until close to Christmas Day. So that's something that's probably going to hang around. There's a lot of confidence in that for at least a better part of the next week to 10 days. Probably going to see that WPO very negative, that West Pacific Oscillation. You can see there is a very good consensus with that through the next 10 days or so. The Arctic Oscillation, kind of neutral territory with that for right now. So while we are probably going to see some colder air spilling through the plains, I want to go ahead and find the right URL. So this is what we've done. So we're going to see a very negative WPO. And I just went ahead and found some analog Decembers where we had a very negative West Pacific oscillation. So what this is just displaying our temperature anomalies through the month. So again, in the WPO probably won't be negative the entire month, but for the next 10 to 12 days, it's a very good indicator that we'll probably see some cold air starting to really get sent through the eastern half of the country. That will keep us probably in northwest flow, likely going to see some above average temperatures, or at least warmer than the rest of us out there the further west you get. So if you're trying to escape cold, go to California, go west. There's going to be a lot of warmer weather out here, quieter conditions, and you'll see again probably some fairly persistent troughing on the eastern half of the lower 48, which again is going to help spill a lot of that cold air to the south. And again, for just those that don't understand positive versus negative WPO, the positive phase here, this is our relation to precipitation and temperatures. This is not what we're going to be dealing with for December, at least through the next 10 days. We're going to have this negative phase here. You can see there's a lot of colder anomalies that suggest that that cold air gets shot through the provinces of Canada and then through the eastern half of the country. And as far as precipitation is concerned, for us locally, that's not really good. So as far as moisture, it's going to be a very rare commodity through the middle of December for us. We'll probably stay dry if I were a betting person, so don't get your hopes up on seeing moisture anytime soon. But you can see we're kind of in that boundary zone where the colder air and the warmer air meet. So we'll just be keeping a watchful eye on where specifically that cold air mass gets displaced through the next couple of disturbances. That next one over the weekend looks to stay pretty well to the northeast. So, whether or not we get a pretty potent shot of cold air with that one may be a little bit unknown. But if we can maybe get that ridge to displace a little bit further west and get some of the troughing to push west as well, we may kind of fall in line with some of those colder shots of air here in the high plains. And that's very typical La Nina-like pattern where that blocking high just is very persistent, and our WJ or our MJO is also kind of in that 6, 7, 8 phase territory, which usually means we don't have a whole lot of rising motion above our heads in the western half of the country. Usually means that ridge in the southwest is going to be pretty dominant. It's hard to sneak any of those cutoff lows through there. So quiet weather probably expected for us through the next at least week to 2 weeks. You can see there's the good teleconnection of the La Nina, where you've got some above average precipitation chances through the northwest, the Pacific Northwest, up through the northern plains, and that ridge just kind of blocking off any active pattern for us here in the southwestern portion of the country. So that's the pattern probably through the next 2 weeks. If we're looking for more winter weather precipitation or even just precipitation in general, it's very possible we may have to wait till January in order to see something active come back into play. Now, if it does come sooner rather than later, probably would lean towards it being closer to December. Another thing we didn't show you, let me go find it. We didn't talk about the stratospheric warming event. So I do want to go ahead and show you just some of these height anomalies. You can see that we do have, again, that not necessarily cross-polar flow going on, but there's definitely a disruption there in the stratosphere that's been taking place for the last week to 2 weeks. Now, as we get into December 10th, towards the middle of the week, you can see that there's, again, just some troughing out here over Siberia, some more troughing kind of over the northern latitudes of the US, and we may inevitably fall under some cross-polar flow here as we get into the middle of December. That would also bode well for some more Arctic outbreaks, probably in that 18 to 28 day time frame after this verifies. So that would be maybe towards the end of December. With the WPO being negative, that would maybe allow for some of that colder air to shoot down through the provinces towards the Great Lakes regions. Just again, going to have to kind of monitor it for us, whether or not we end up in that truly cold Arctic air or if we just get that glance blow like we sometimes get. But this is pretty common for La Ninas, where we get that polar disruption and we end up getting several Arctic outbreaks, especially across the eastern half of the country. So that may be something that we also have to keep an eye on. It's just how potent some of those colder shots of air get, especially towards the end of December. But that's all I've got for you guys. It's kind of a quiet 7-day for us. So we're trying to dig in around for some additional information to talk to you guys about. But, it's interesting to me. Hopefully you guys find that stuff interesting. And if you do, don't forget to hit that like button, and we'll go ahead and end it here.